today by Councilmember Greg Smith. This is the Public Works Committee. Anyone wishing to speak, you could get a card from our clerk here to my left, and be happy to take you up. If we could have items 4 through 7 on consent.
Julia Moy, Bureau of Engineering. We have technical corrections on items 4 and 5.
Okay, can you read those read all of 4 through 6 into the record, and then if you can read also the technical corrections on 4 and 5.
Item number 4, City Engineer Report relative to the vacation of the alley westerly of Laurel Canyon Boulevard and southerly of Satakoy Street adjacent to Lot 1, track number 25655, vacation E1401111.
On item 4, technical correction to delete conditions number 3 and 4. And on item 5, a technical correction to delete item 6, or condition number 6.
Okay. So approve those as amended. Is that any objections? So ordered. And now we will go to item 1. Clerk, please read that into the record.
Item number 1 is a discussion item, CAO, to give a presentation on the status of ongoing negotiations with the Department of Water and Power in regard to various existing contracts where work can be taken over by city employees, including tree trimming and street resurfacing work, as well as any other opportunities to contract work in-house.
Welcome. This is just a status report, and you could introduce yourself and tell us where we're at.
Good afternoon. My name is David Hirano. I'm with the Office of CAO. We're working with the Department of Water and Power on 2 fronts. As a result of the budget reductions that the Council adopted during mid-year, we dramatically reduced the staffing level in the Urban Forestry Division of the Bureau of Street Services. The Department of Water and Power has been a gracious neighbor and has been working with us to try and find ways to continue to employ some of the people that would be or negatively impacted by that budget reduction. And they've been working with us. At the last count, they are prepared to hire approximately 21 people that would otherwise be displaced within the city and provide them jobs up at Water and Power and train them to do line clearance work. They're continuing to look at opportunities to potentially employ more, but right now 21 is the number. That would leave from the Urban Forestry Division cut approximately 79 other jobs that are at risk. We have been working with Water and Power Water System as well to craft an MOU where Water and Power would pay for the cost of road repair from the water main blowouts and from the water main replacement program. Tentatively, we have a MOU that is very close to being final. We are in the final stages of negotiating the last couple of items, and we hope to have that through the review of the executive departments of Public Works, DWP, and our office within the next few days. The draft of that MOU currently would provide for DWP to pay for approximately 86 positions within the Bureau of Street Services. They're not exactly the kind of positions that are being cut in urban forestry, but we have been in contact, the Bureau and us have been in contact with the Personnel Department and asked for the Personnel Department's assistance in trying to place people as broadly as possible in these classifications and avoid as many city employees as possible losing jobs. Our goal is to bring that MOU to you hopefully near the end of the month and ask for the allocation of staff at that time. That may be a little bit of an aggressive schedule, but we're trying to be aggressive to make sure we get the personnel authority done in time. So if you have any questions, personnel from the Department of Water and Power here who could speak to both these issues. In addition, I noticed on the agenda it was kind of broad. It talked about contracts for tree trimming, and the Department of Recreation and Parks sent a representative down. They are negotiating a contract with Water and Power to help with tree trimming, and if you'd like to talk to them, they are here as well.
Okay, and the MOU that you will bring to us at the end of the month, how many jobs are we talking about?
86.
86. And how many from street services have been let go or potentially let go?
The urban forestry cut
Urban
was
forestry, I'm sorry,
was 100 positions.
100 positions.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that 100 people would be displaced, because we have vacancies that have developed over the last few months, people leaving, retiring, that kind of thing. And along with the power system picking up 21 people from that, the number of people at risk is much lower.
Okay.
But we also do have additional cuts that were adopted in the 10-11 budget in the lot cleaning division. So we will be needing vacant authorities and resurfacing work to help accommodate those people as well. So
And in terms of cost, what's the cost difference? We're going to have now a private contractor that used to do this work, and now we're going to have EWP employees doing this work once those bodies move over there. What's the cost? Did it say the same, about $5 million annually? Or
on the tree trimming,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't know that number. Maybe we can ask if DWP can provide that. Mr. Clay? Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Or are we working within the $5 million budgeted?
Hi, I'm Mike Coya from the Department of Water and Power and the Power System, and what we've done is we've reduced our contract $2 million for next fiscal year to cover the cost of the employees, so that are coming over from street services.
So you reduced your, in terms of your budget to do tree trimming, is it increasing or decreasing? Because
It's pretty much, it stayed the same, but we had a reduction in the contract
Do you
portion.
get the same amount of service?
Yeah,
You're gonna get
pretty much,
the-
yeah, our crews are comparable as far as the tree for tree as far.
Okay, great, thank you. Any questions? No?
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your work, and we look forward to that MOU. Is that coming through this committee, or what committees is it? Probably this
Yeah,
committee,
that's
Budget and
a good
Finance?
question. Probably at least through Budget and Finance.
Okay.
And coming to the council for the staffing, definitely, so,
Okay,
okay?
thank you.
You got it.
We have one public speaker, Darrell Ford.
Good afternoon, council members. Darrell Ford, Department of Recreation Parks. Just briefly wanted to come down here and speak the fact that the department is working with Water and Power to develop an MOU for contract services to do tree trimming and tree care, specifically with water systems at several of their facilities. So we're actively moving that forward, so it's another opportunity to use existing city resources to do some of this on-call contract work.
Oh, great, thank you. Thank you for that information. Mr. Alarcon, we are going to, item number 1 is the discussion item. We just had a presentation from the CAO. Is it okay we move on? Sure. All righty. Items 2 and 3 we can take together. They both deal with the Bureau of Contract Management, and the purpose of having these on board is to get a little background on what we do to assist minority and women-owned businesses in the bidding process, as well as how we support locally based businesses. So, Clerk?
Item number 3, motion Perry Alarcon relative to certification for small local businesses and how the process can be restructured to actually certify small local businesses that operate in the county of Los Angeles. Additionally, item number 2, discussion item, Bureau of Contract Administration to give a presentation on contracting in connection with identifying areas of potential savings, returning work in-house, city efforts to increase opportunities for locally based minority and women-owned businesses to participate in the city contracting process and areas for improvement.
Welcome.
Good afternoon. John Reamer, Bureau of Contract Administration. To my right, I have with me Hannah Choi, Program Manager for the Office of Contract Compliance. Back in October of 2008, I, along with several of my colleagues, general managers with 3 of the various departments, issued a report entitled General Manager Working Group on Contracts that gave an overview of some of the challenges that we had in the contracting process in the city. And housed in that report was a list of contracts for the fiscal year 2007-2008 that totaled roughly $1.7 billion in various categories, personal professional services, construction, many of them grants that were issued. And the question that was asked was what, if anything, we can do to take some of those contracts and use them to employ city employees in lieu of contracting out the work. What I had staff do for today was go through and examine on a macro scale, department by department, the type of contracts that we had, which I'm going to present to you now. Over there, I think I got 3. And what it gives you is it gives you an overview of the type of contracts that we're referring to from the standpoint of category. We're not in a position now to speak to whether or not these are types of contracts that city employees themselves could do. Our recommendation would be for the departments themselves to speak to that issue through the process. What you can see is it's pretty wide-ranging in the type of work that is done from being contracted out. Where we are with respect to the status in this process, I must admit ERIP has had some impact on our ability to achieve some of the goals that we set forth in what we put together as a 3-phase plan. The first phase was simply to establish or strengthen the communication lines amongst the various departments with the CAO, linking the budget process with the contracting process so that everyone knew what we were doing as a city family. Moving from that into what we could do to share contracts amongst various departments from the standpoint of piggybacking where piggybacking is appropriate. Do we want to continue to have bundling as a mechanism that we use, or do we want to unbundle contracts because there is a desire and a concern with respect to small businesses and, to be more specific, minority and women business enterprise having an opportunity to work in the city of LA. And then thirdly, because we are and we have lost a great wealth of knowledge in the city due to the early retirement incentive program, how could we come about with a electronic process to contracting, vis-a-vis, if you will, a TurboTax approach to doing this, in that anyone could sit down at a terminal and, if you will, know how to go through the contracting process because we've housed the knowledge in an electronic world. So those are the 3 phases. The first 2 phases, phase 1 went fairly well. We did put together a working group. We met several times, many of the departments, and putting together a working group, we scaled that down to what I would like to refer to as the Big 5. Those are the large departments that are doing a large amount of contracting. The second phase, with respect to changing some of the policies that we have, some of the procedures, that's in place now. Many of the ordinances that we have dealing with contracting, example would be equal benefits ordinance. We're in the process of working with the city attorney's office to refine the language so as to smooth out, if you will, and streamline that approach. And then the third being the electronic piece. We were working with ITA. We had an outside agency come and take a look at our contracting process and give us some recommendations, and that's where the process has stalled for right now.
Okay. Thank you very much. When we certify whether a company qualifies as a small business, we have a ceiling of $3 million of business. How does that work?
I'm going to ask Hannah Choi to speak to that.
Sure. We take their revenue for the last 3 years and determine whether they're under the 3 million threshold or not, whether they're a commodity personal services contractor.
Okay. And we don't have a floor of how much business they do. For example, what if they just have a phone line plugged in and they call themselves, we're locally based, they just want the contract?
Exactly. And those are some of the things that we want to bring to you, maybe strengthening the language in the ordinance, perhaps requiring personal tax documentation. Right now, we just ask for business tax, corporate tax, but that'll allow us to see further. And then we've discovered there's virtual offices where a company can rent an office space, never work out of there, but things like that. So we have some recommendations as to strengthen the certification program for small local businesses.
And certainly when I was on the school board and we were ramping up for construction work, we found a lot of businesses come into LA and they just rented
Right.
space and put in a phone line, and
Exactly.
they said they were LA-based. And there are a few of those. But when are we going to get those recommendations?
According to the ordinance, it actually says that the mayor's Office of Economic Development should be the ones coming to the council with recommendations to those. So we will be working with the mayor's office to come up with language.
We have been for some time now reviewing the entire small local business as well as minority and women-owned business enterprise approach that the city is utilizing. I've asked Keisha Washington to join us here if you have any questions. She's been instrumental in taking a look from the top down and not just inside of the council control departments, but also asking the proprietary departments to also share in this discussion so as we can come across with a standardized approach to how we do this. We're looking at things such as, do we want to focus just on small local business, and then how do you define local? Right now, currently, local is LA County based. There's a desire to look at it from the standpoint of those businesses that are operating inside of the city of Los Angeles. Then the definition of small. How are we going to define small? As you alluded to, right now, we're using a dollar amount of $3 million. Depending on where you are in the country, that number will go much higher than $3 million, and then the type of work that the particular business is going to bring to the city. Is there anything you'd like to add, Keisha?
And it varies by industry. I mean, there's certain, small business may be different for depending on the type of industry it is and what type of service we're asking from the contractors. I know there's some type of index out there that's used.
What is small business?
It
What does
depends.
the small business administration use?
Depending upon the type of work, if it's construction, it's as high as $32 million. Now,
What about the reverse? What's in the state of California, there's a definition for micro enterprise.
Mhm.
Do you use that definition?
Do we use it now? No, we don't.
You don't give any extra benefits to micro enterprises?
Well, the number that we have right now would easily qualify under the state's definition of micro enterprise. The challenge that
What
we,
number is that?
3 million, that's the 3 million that we have.
The definition is 5 employees or less. 5 employees.
Oh, the state's definition.
The state's definition, yeah. That would not solve the challenge that we have, because we would not have a problem satisfying the or less. What we've been told by several departments is that and I'll refer to cottage industry that has been developing, where that person is established a storefront with a desk, a chair, and a phone book. They don't have any supplies. There's no inventory at all, so they would easily qualify. But what that does is it causes those businesses that they do have inventory. They're headquartered or they have an office in Los Angeles. They believe that it is an unfair playing field, if you will, and they're competing against someone that doesn't carry the same weight and investment that they do. So when you look at the state, if you will, depending upon the type of work, they're 12 million, I believe, right now, when they are defining a small business. We've had discussions as, do we want to go that high? The concern that we've had in the Bureau of Contract Administration is that the higher we go on that number, it quite possibly is going to challenge our ability to bring in minority and women-owned businesses from the standpoint of being able to compete. On average, our minority and women-owned businesses, their annual receipts are roughly $6 million of those that we have certified. So we clearly recognize that the $3 million number is too low, that it needs to come up. The question is, how high does it need to come up? And do we even want to use a dollar amount if we're talking about focusing on those businesses that are in the city of Los Angeles? So if we want to do a preference-based contracting, and we want to give a preference to those businesses that have said, we want to come to the city of Los Angeles, we want to establish business here. It may not be a headquarter, but we do want to establish an office here. there is discussion as to whether or not we even want to focus on size and focus more so on location.
And depending on the type of industry, again, school district, we are told that if we contained it within the school district, we may not get people applying for this work because certain types of industries were not located within our boundaries. That's one issue. But correct me again, how can we focus on minority and women-owned businesses given Proposition 209? I know that if it's federal money that's being used, we can use minority and women. Is that still the case?
Yes.
So any federal money that the city uses, we could still use minority and women preference?
Yes, their program is called the DBE program, Disadvantaged Business. So minority women businesses that are certified as such, there will be a goal on the federally funded projects.
For any projects that use strictly city and local and or state money, it's just
Exactly.
we focus on local preference, local and
We
size.
do have the good faith effort and anticipated levels of minority and women participation, but we can't award away if a contractor chooses not to utilize minority and women businesses.
You can't do it on the basis of ethnicity, but you can do it on the basis of economics
Correct.
or geography.
Correct.
Exactly.
If you took a disadvantaged area like South Central,
Right.
you could give preferential treatment to those businesses.
Right.
Do we have those programs?
We currently do not have that kind of a program.
Did we ever?
We're hoping.
Or did we ever?
No.
No, it was,
Since 2009, we haven't moved. When we did the enterprise zones and the empowerment zones, that they were based on that concept. Question is, why haven't we done that?
we are having more than just talks. I mean, we have drafted language that we are reviewing. We are taking a look at best practices across the nation. You're absolutely correct, Council Member, in that because of 209, we cannot focus on what is referred to as race and gender-based contracting. It has to be race and gender neutral. So to use economics, to use disadvantaged areas is something that we are looking into. We're actually doing that with hiring from the standpoint of with project labor agreements. We're focusing on those areas, we refer to them as target areas, where the unemployment or the underemployment levels are very high, and it has stood the test of time from a legal standpoint with respect to being able to target and request through your contracting mechanism, you hire people from these areas, and we've been very successful. We're taking that model and we're bringing it over and laying it on top of our contracting approach. Some of the challenges that we're facing and that we're wrestling and working through will be one size obviously does not fit all. From a commodity standpoint, how are we going to be able to do that? We benefit as a city greatly by bundling and taking advantage of bulk purchasing. The Department of General Services has done a tremendous job in doing that. The concern there will be, how do we move from that prime level to filter down our desire to reach out to those businesses that we would say have been disadvantaged. They've made the commitment to headquarter or house an office in those depressed areas, if you will.
Let me hold you on that point for a moment. If the CRA can calculate how much revenue is going to be generated on a given development
Yes.
in terms of retail sales based on calculated estimates,
Mm-hmm.
why can't we do the same in our contracts to calculate the benefits of local hiring so that we know the difference, that notwithstanding the fact that bid may not be the lowest bid, we may gain some long-term benefits in terms of economic development
Well,
by giving the contract to a local.
Well, I don't think it's the case that we can't. Once again, it's going to be policy decision that we have to have the discussion, and it's starting now, in that, let's take our small local business program currently. The small local business program says that anything under $100,000, we are going to apply a preference. The city has said that in that case, we are willing to pay $10,000 more, in theory, because we give a 10% preference. If we want to lift that threshold so that we can include more contracts in that, then we have to decide, How high do we want to lift it? Do we want to continue to apply a 10% preference? Do we want to reduce it down to a 5% preference? Do we want to do pre-qualification? In that we establish a pre-qualification pool. And those that we place in that pool, they fit a certain criteria. That criteria, number one, would be they are headquartered, they have an office in an area where we have identified that it's going to benefit the city in the long range in dealing with some of the challenges that we have with respect to unemployment. So these are things that we have already explored and we've looked into. We just haven't moved on it officially from a policy standpoint.
Why not?
We're in the process of doing that. I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but we are in the process
When is
of...
that,
Not only a broken record, but I've been hearing the same record since the earthquake.
so when is that coming back to us? When are you going to come up with some new policy recommendations on reviewing our existing policies and ordinances on this matter?
Would you like to?
Good afternoon. My name is Keisha Washington. I'm one of the managing directors in Deputy Mayor Buettner's office. This is an issue that John and I have been working on. We do have draft policies. We have been working with, the Mayor's Council has been working with the City Attorney's Office. Part of the challenge, as you may be aware, is the way the charter is currently written, that says any preference has to be based on the county level. There's a difference of opinion, I think, between several attorneys as to whether or not we could take it to a subset of the county, which...
Any preference of what?
Any preference in a bid, you must award to the lowest bidder, except that,
So if you just took the enterprise zones or empowerment zones in the county, you're still LA City.
if you wanted to narrow it to more than just, if you want to take a smaller area than just LA County.
No, if
No.
you took all the empowerment zones and gave them preferential status, all the empowerment zones in the county, that would be 100% City of Los Angeles.
I will look into that. I think my concern is that I don't think I'm articulating it very clearly, but that it says the county is the smallest area, is the way some folks are interpreting, not a subset of the county, which an empowerment zone would be.
It's
But
not a
this-
subset of the county. It's all the county of Los Angeles.
The whole county of Los Angeles
Empowerment zones.
is it an empowerment zone by itself?
No, but for preferential purposes, you can establish areas within the boundaries of the county of Los Angeles that are subsets of the county.
That's what I'm saying. That's what we're looking at now as to whether or not there's a difference of opinion between the city attorney's office and our attorney's office as to whether or not you can have that subset. I would argue that, yes, you are right, but ultimately it's up to the city attorney who's going to have to defend this if that's the way that we
I don't
go.
even know how we could have established empowerment zones if that were the case.
This is for contracting, sir. For the awarding of bids.
When can we expect some policy recommendations and changes to the council?
Let me go back and have some discussions with the Deputy Mayor Buettner and some others. There are recommendations that have been made to make sure that they're done what they've needed to do, and then I'll report back.
And what is it that you're, just to be clear, you're examining what issue and what's going to be looked upon, and what types of recommendations can we expect?
We're actually looking at a variety of issues, going to the small local business issue, looking at a local preference policy, looking at some other things related to that, related to contract compliance. Because at the end of the day, we can have all of these lovely policies. If we don't enforce them, they're not for naught.
Any other questions, comments?
We can put a preference on a county business if we can confirm that their employees are city residents.
You also have to be careful if you require that it's a residency.
I know you have to be careful, but you have to take risks too.
I understand that.
I mean, we've been doing this for as long as I've been on the council, and I just don't understand that we're not further along.
Understood.
So is this matter going to be referred to my committee?
Yes, at your request, we'll refer this matter to your committee, to the Jobs Committee, and we will also hold this item in this committee for 45 days, and we'll discuss with the Mayor's office when we can expect those policy recommendations to come to this committee, to the Jobs Committee. So we'll continue this item in this committee for 45 days and refer the matter to the Jobs Committee.
I do want to mention that there is a local hiring motion that will be coming to the Jobs Committee at the next meeting, and the issues are very similar. So I'm going to be working on a parallel plan. That motion has been in committee for 2 years, I believe. We were just looking at it, so we're going to push it out. But it's a local preference issue, but but frankly, all these issues are related. I really think you need to take a look at the definition of microenterprise. It was a bill that I wrote to provide a definition. The reason that is so critical is because more than 60% of the new jobs are created by microenterprises with fewer than 5 employees. And if we're only contracting to larger employers, we're missing the opportunity to create the fastest job creation.
And I think, can you clarify, we are going to refer item number 3 to,
Just item number.
just item number 3. Item number 2, we'll just, it's a discussion item. Item number 3, we'll hold for 45 days and refer it to Jobs Committee. We have a public speaker on this item, Dr. Clyde Williams. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good afternoon, Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Barrett Road, El Sereno, Northeast LA. For this evening's Neighborhood Council, I was going to be distributing a flyer regarding bond assistance programs for small local contractors. Seems to be the subject of the day these days. However, there's also a matter that how do you define small? How do you define local? Because in item 3, it says local is LA County. It's a big county. So is it City of Los Angeles or is it County of Los Angeles? I would also indicate that you should be including the fire department. It wasn't included here because they do a lot of brush clearance, over 1,000 lots every year. And they don't do all of them and need to be cleared. Right now, on Tuesday, they reviewed 14 extensions of contracts for small companies. So I think there would be some opportunities to include the fire department in such programs. So I would highly recommend that there be a clear definition. Are they going to be LA zip codes or LA County zip codes? Are they going to be certified by somebody within the communities? There are 90 neighborhood councils in around who usually know quite a few of the small local businesses within LA City. Thank you.
Thank you. You can stay right there. You're also for public comment. Public comment, general public comment. You also have a card.
Same one.
Same thing. Okay. Thank you. I believe that concludes this meeting. And City Clerk, if you could add Mr. Alarcon as a yes for items 4 through 7 at his request. And meeting adjourned. Thank you.